Years ago, the developers of Dead by Daylight said something that made the community explode. Kills equals skill. The game's entire matchmaking system was built on that one simple and, as many will tell you, deeply flawed idea.
Alright, time to play some Dead by Daylight. Let's make sure I don't say anything that will get more cosmetics removed. Alright, this is taking a little while. Let's get a word all done for today. An I and a K. Oh yes, of course, kills has an I and a K in it. Wait a second. Oh my god.
The system, called skill-based matchmaking, or SBMM, was supposed to give us more balanced and competitive games. But for a huge part of the player base, it feels like it's doing the exact opposite. When SBMM works as intended, your matches become relentlessly sweaty. When it doesn't work, which is often, the matches just feel broken and random. So what's the point? Instead of creating balance, skill-based matchmaking has split the game into two completely different realities. At the top of the ladder, in the high MMR bracket, every match is a brutal fight. Killers feel forced to play only the strongest characters like Nurse and Blight, using ruthless tactics like tunneling and slugging just to stand a chance. Meanwhile, survivors are expected to be perfectly coordinated, running the same meta perks in every single game. There's no room for error, just immense pressure. Then there's the other world, the low MMR bracket. Here, logic goes out the window. It's a land of beautiful, baffling chaos where one match is an effortless win against players who seem to have just installed the game, and the next is an unwinnable train wreck. The whiplash is maddening, and feels like a chaotic lottery where the results make no sense. The system has created either relentless pressure or total chaos, and neither one is consistently fun. So how did we get here? And is the system designed to create fair matches one of the core issues with the game? So how did we get to this point? To really understand the community's frustration, we have to turn back the clock to a time before skill-based matchmaking. Before the hidden numbers and confusing metrics, Dead by Daylight had a matchmaking structure that was based on a visible rank, and it was arguably far more transparent and rewarding. This was the old rank-based system. It had 20 visible ranks, from rank 20 all the way to the coveted rank 1. Your rank was decided by how well you played in a match, measured by a multifaceted emblem system that determined if you gained pips to rank up. For survivors, there were Lightbringer for doing generators, Benevolent for altruistic acts, Evader for winning chases and using stealth, and Unbroken for staying alive and escaping. For killers, you were graded based on Gatekeeper for preventing generator repairs, Malicious for damaging and hooking survivors, Chaser for winning chases, and Devout for securing sacrifices. The combined quality of these emblems determined your fate. Do well and you'd earn pips to climb. Play average and you would safety pip, losing no progress. And if you played poorly, that meant you lost a pip. The system gave you a clear path for progression. You knew exactly where you stood, and reaching rank 1 felt like a real accomplishment earned by being a well-rounded player. Most notably, skill was measured by much more than just kills. This system also provided variety. Playing against skillful opponents is fun, but when every single game under SBMM is against S-tier killers or survivor loadouts, the game just feels draining. The old rank system had a natural ebb and flow. At the monthly reset, everyone's rank would drop, so even if you took a break for a few months, you'd find yourself at a lower rank, allowing you to gradually relearn the game against less intense opponents. Skill-based matchmaking, in contrast, has no memory and no mercy. Take a break, and it throws you right back into the fire. Furthermore, once you hit rank 1, you couldn't de-rank for the rest of the season. This meant many players would push to rank 1 early on and then play more casually for the rest of the month, experimenting with fun builds without fear of punishment. Despite its strengths, the developers decided to retire the ranked system in favor of a more modern approach, skill-based matchmaking. On paper, the idea is sound. Instead of visible ranks, every player gets a hidden number, their matchmaking rating, or MMR. This number goes up when you win and down when you lose. The system then tries to build lobbies with players who have a similar MMR. When this change happened, the ranks we knew were replaced with grades, which look similar, going from Ash to Iridescent. These grades are just for show. Now they're just a measure of your playtime, not your skill. They have zero effect on who you play against and only serve as a way to get blood point rewards at the end of the month. All that matters is that invisible number, your MMR. So how does this hidden system actually work? Based on what the developers have said and what the community has pieced together, it's a bit of a mess. Your MMR is a number that goes up or down with kills and escapes, but there's a soft cap. Once you pass this soft cap, your rating changes much more slowly, and you're thrown into one large pool of quote-unquote high MMR players. This is why wait times can be long and why matches at the top feel so inconsistent. The system considers a player who just barely passed the cap to be in the same bucket as a 5,000-hour tournament player. For survivors, it's simple. You have one single MMR score that is shared across all your characters. If you're a god tier looper with Nia, your MMR will be high even if you switch to a brand new character you've never played. For killers, however, it's far more granular. Each killer has their own separate MMR. This is so your skill as a top tier nurse doesn't mean you'll face pro survivors when you decide to try Trapper for the first time. But what happens in that first Trapper match? The system doesn't start you at 0, it uses a backfill rating, which is a baseline MMR calculated from an average of your other killer's ratings. The problem is, this backfill often feels inaccurate, and it doesn't fully account for universal skills like map awareness and general game sense, leading to mismatched games. But with all that said, let's assume for a second that it all works perfectly. You always get people that match your rating, and the matchmaking is definitely not fast and loose with its own rules. How does SBMM decide what your rating should be? And that's where it all falls apart. The entire SBMM system is built on a dangerously simple philosophy, the idea that kills and escapes are the only things that measure skill. Kills equals skills. Years ago, the lead game developer at the time, Patrick, tried to defend the system with a now infamous analogy. He compared Dead by Daylight to hockey, arguing that while a skilled player might take more shots on goal, the only thing that matters for the final score is the goal itself. In his eyes, things like looping, generator repairs, and altruism were just shots on goal, while kills and escapes were the actual goals that decide a win.
Kills and escapes are proxies for skill, in that skilled play inherently leads to kills or escapes. Think about sports, and I'll use hockey as an example because I'm Canadian. You wouldn't say they only count wins when placing teams in the standings, but they should also count shots on goal too. A more skilled player takes more shots. It's important to remember that shots lead to goals, which lead to wins.
The community's reaction was immediate and overwhelmingly negative because the analogy completely misunderstands what Dead by Daylight is. This isn't a sport with a simple win-loss outcome. Skill in this game has many different faces, but the SBMM system, guided by this hockey philosophy, only cares about the end result. Before he moved on from the game, content creator Dowsey became a major voice in this debate, famously highlighting the absurdity of the kills equals skill mindset. He, along with many others, pointed out how this philosophy ignores the very core of what makes the game interesting.
Kills equals skill, and I'm ready to finalize Patrick's true vision of Dead by Daylight to become the high MMR killer that Dead by Daylight didn't deserve, but they needed. Oh, you think you can get past me, Kate? Think again, Kate. No way are you getting out of this exit gate. Yes, you can both be here. You can both try, but no, you cannot get past me because I know how to block this gate. You shall not pass, the great Gandalf once said, and you better start running. That's right. I have trained so hard for this very moment to realize Dead by Daylight's true hockey potential. This is pure skill in Dead by Daylight. This is survivors dying because they do not know how to play hockey.
Imagine this classic survivor scenario. You're a master at looping. You lead the killer on a breathtaking chase that lasts for 5 full generators, but finally you make one mistake and get hooked. In the eyes of the SBMM system, you lost. Your MMR goes down. Meanwhile, a teammate who hid in a locker all game and snuck out the gate has won. Their MMR goes up. Does that feel like a fair measure of skill? The same broken logic applies to killer. Imagine you play a perfect pressure game, getting 8 hooks by hooking everyone twice. You've been an incredibly skilled player, spread pressure, and didn't tunnel anyone out. But right at the end, the survivors make a clutch play and all 4 escape. According to the system, a 0-kill game is a complete loss. It means you have no skill. Your MMR tanks. Now, compare that to a killer who just tunnels survivors out of the match one after the other. Even if they only get 1 to 2 kills, the system considers it a much better outcome, despite far less skill being involved. The system actively rewards low interaction, boring strategies over real skill. This broken definition of skill leads directly to the next big problem. The system punishes creativity. When the only thing that matters for your MMR is getting kills or escaping, the only logical way to succeed is to use the strongest tools available every single time. And that's how a stale, suffocating meta is enforced. Want to try a weaker, more fun killer like the Trapper at high MMR? Good fucking luck. Unless you're quiet kills, you're screwed. The system doesn't care that you're playing a less than optimal character, it just sees the result. A loss is a loss. So you switch back to Blight or Nurse just to have a chance. It's the same for survivors. You like trying a fun meme build? At higher levels, you'll face killers who will mercilessly punish you for it. The game stops being about expressing yourself and starts being about conforming to a checklist of approved perks. This creates a vicious cycle. The more you win, the higher your MMR climbs. The higher your MMR climbs, the tougher your opponents. The tougher your opponents, the more you have to rely on the meta. Some people argue that the solution to feeling burned out by these constantly sweaty games is to just stop trying so hard and let your MMR fail. This creates a new problem, smurfing. Intentionally lowering your rating to get easier matches ruins the experience for the lower skilled players that you're matched against, which is why the community, rightfully, gets pretty angry about it. Perhaps the worst consequence of all is the toxic win-at-all-costs mentality the system encourages. When the game itself tells you that only a kill or escape matters, it changes how people play, usually for the worse. It feels like over the years since SBMM was introduced, you can see this mentality a lot, either consciously or subconsciously. For killers, the pressure to get kills leads directly to more tunneling and camping. Why would a killer chase a healthy survivor when they can just go after the person who is just unhooked? The system rewards that ruthless efficiency. There's a stark contrast to the old emblem system, where a killer who only secured one kill by tunneling and camping would score poorly in the malicious and chaser emblems. This often resulted in gaining no pips or even D-ranking, which actively punished that exact playstyle. For survivors, this pressure turns into pure selfishness. If your escape is the only thing that helps your MMR, why risk your life to save a teammate who's being camped? The quote-unquote optimal play, according to the system, is to leave them to die and focus on yourself. Again, the old system handled this better. The benevolent emblem specifically rewarded you for unhooking and protecting teammates. Abandoning someone would have cost you points for that emblem. Teamwork was baked into the very fabric of progression. Instead, the new system kills teamwork and creates massive distrust in solo queue, where you never know if your teammates will have your back or just abandon you to save their own skin. So, back to the big question, is Dead by Daylight skill-based matchmaking doing more harm than good? In my opinion, yes. Skill-based matchmaking is fundamentally breaking the Dead by Daylight experience. The goal was a good one. Fair matches are what every multiplayer game should aim for, but the execution has been a disaster. By building the entire matchmaking system on the crude metric of kills equals skill, Behavior created a machine that doesn't understand its own game. Content creator Choy has a fantastic video on this subject, and he makes a crucial point that I agree with. The original rank system had its problems, but it was a much better foundation that addressed the very issues we see today. It should have been refined and improved, not completely replaced with SBMM. The old system's emblem categories directly fix the kills equals skill problem by rewarding the many facets of a good game: chase skill, map pressure, generator repairs, and altruism. That 8-hook 0-kill game that tanks your MMR today would have been rewarded in the old system. The 5-gen chase that ends in your death would have earned you a high score in the Evader emblem, recognizing your contribution. It also solved the problem of match variety. The natural ebb and flow of the monthly rank reset meant the highest skill bracket wasn't a permanent prison like it feels today. Once players hit rank 1, they could experiment with fun builds without fear of being punished, which brought more diversity to matches. SBMM offers no such relief. And like we covered earlier, if you took a break, the old system let you ease back in. You would naturally D-rank over time and face more appropriate opponents. Skill-based matchmaking just throws you back into the fire, kicking and screaming. Even the developers seem to know it's not working. Roadmaps have mentioned an MMR revamp, which is an admission that the current system is broken. They've had to make huge changes to the core game just to fight the playstyles, like tunneling and camping, that their own matchmaking system encourages. They're treating the symptoms, but the disease is at the very heart of the MMR system's philosophy. Until the definition of skill is changed, any system built on it is going to keep doing more harm than good. When you get right down to it, Dead by Daylight's matchmaking is a classic story of good intentions leading to a whole lot of frustration. A system that was supposed to make games fairer has instead just made the experience more punishing and less rewarding. This whole kills equals skill philosophy was a gamble that completely misjudged how complex this game is. This isn't about players just wanting easier games, it's about wanting a system that actually understands what makes Dead by Daylight worth playing in the first place. That's my take on the situation, but I'm far more interested in yours. What does skill in this game actually mean to you? Is it pulling off a perfect 360 on a killer, running them through 5 gens straight, or is it about being one step ahead of a survivor's every move? Maybe it has nothing to do with winning at all, and it's just about creating a fun, memorable match for everyone. Let me know what you think in the comments. I really am interested to hear your opinions. And on a final note, I have a quick channel announcement. I've recently enabled memberships, and this spot in my videos will be dedicated to thanking those who join. I've felt hesitant about asking for support in this way, but I had an idea that I'm really passionate about. 100% of the proceeds from the membership program will be donated to the various animal shelters that I volunteer with. To be clear, memberships are completely optional, and no content will ever be locked behind a paywall. For those of you who decide to join, you'll get a special role in our Discord and a shout out in all my future videos as a massive thank you for helping support a great cause. Of course, another benefit is you'll also get really cute pictures of the animals that you're helping, so there's that. And that's the end of my shameless plug, I promise. I know money's tight right now for everybody, so this is in no way, shape, or form an expectation. It's just a way for me to donate more to the causes I already believe in. As always, thank you for stopping by, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the fog.